morning. Let's pray as we come to God's words. Almighty God and Father in heaven, we are here this morning because we have come to see that you are the true and living God. And we ask, Lord, that you would enable us to see afresh in your word this morning the character of your Son Jesus. Especially, Lord, as we look at his compassion and his power, which is speaking into our lives, into our hearts, so that we may experience that compassion and that power in our lives this week. Let's get in his name and his glory. Amen. Well, the report that we've just heard read in the Bible is of one of the most remarkable events in the New Testament and in the whole Bible. It's so significant and it shows us so much of who Jesus is that it is one of only 2 miracles that are recorded in all 4 of the Gospel accounts. Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Those 4 eyewitness accounts of the life of Jesus in the Bible. The only other miracle that's recorded in all 4 accounts is the resurrection of Jesus. So this is really significant. If we want to see who Jesus is, and if we want to think about what that means for our lives, then this true story is a great place to start. And if we want to see afresh and more deeply, if we're here and we feel we've seen that kind of thing before, and we've heard this story many times, if we want to see afresh and more deeply the power and the kindness of God, then we can't do much better than this story. So let's get straight into it. Let me just remind you of where we're up to. We're walking through Mark's Gospel. We've been doing that for the last few months, bit by bit, and as we've been seeing, Jesus is getting increasingly famous by this point where we join. He's shown unprecedented power, and people are amazed. He's gone around teaching and preaching with incredible wisdom. He's been healing sick people. He's been giving freedom to people who are oppressed by evil of various kinds. He's been telling people their sins are forgiven, something that only God can do. And now, in the days leading up to this event that we have read about this morning, we're looking at this morning, he's kind of multiplied his effect by giving his 12 closest followers, the apostles, the ability to do the same kind of stuff. And they've gone out in 6 pairs, crisscrossing this area of Galilee and Palestine where they were, preaching, healing, casting out demons. And you can imagine that all the little towns and villages around there are buzzing with this incredible stuff that is going on. Those things, by the way, are as weird and surprising and confusing for people then as they would be if they were to start here among us now. That's why they've written it down. That's why they started paying attention. Left, right and centre. Previously blind people can see. And deaf people can hear. And paralysed people can walk. And all of this is accompanied by this message from Jesus and his followers about the kingdom of God arriving. God's king has arrived, people are saying. It's not a normal situation. And then we get to our passage, and the apostles, the 12 leading followers of Jesus, they just had this incredible and exhausting few days, travelling here, there, and everywhere, all over, preaching and teaching, and using that authority that Jesus has given them to heal people and to free people from oppression. And in verse 30, just before our passage, which begins in verse 31, they come back to Jesus and they tell him everything that they have been doing and teaching. And they are exhausted and overwhelmed. You can imagine, can't you? You know, if this stuff was really happening as is claimed here, then everyone would want a piece of them, especially in the days before modern medicine. All All these people are coming, bringing their sick friends and relatives, or just coming to see what's going on, and they see it's true, and then so they go off and tell other people, and more people come. And it says in verse 31 that they were so busy with all these people, they didn't even have time to eat. I don't know if you've experienced that when you're so busy and put upon that you just manage a bite here and a bite there as you go about everything you've got going on. It feels like your feet barely touch the floor. That's the situation that the disciples are in. And so Jesus says to them in verse 31, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while." Jesus is going to take them on a boat across the lake to this lovely, quiet spot so they can get some rest and refreshment. It's not a desert. Sometimes we think of this story as happening in a desert. Mark comments later in the passage, it's a place with green grass. So it's most probably a grassy kind of hillside overlooking the lake, somewhere quiet and serene, ideal place to chill out after some crazy feast. You can imagine, can't you, the disciples breathing a sigh of relief as Jesus says, "Yes, that's what he is." One of the things we'll see that Mark highlights as he tells this story is the compassion of Jesus. Jesus' genuine concern for people. And we're seeing it here already on. Jesus sees his exhausted disciples and he has compassion on them. He sees they need to rest, and they start to get that rest on the boat ride. This morning we've got the title, Jesus, the Good Shepherd, and the picture of a shepherd is used again and again in the Bible to show us what God is like. Most famously in Psalm 23, which we just sung, "The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want, I shall lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures." That's what God is like. And part of what Mark's doing in his gospel here is piling up the evidence that Jesus is the Son of God. He begins the book by saying the beginning of the good news about Jesus, the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus is God in person, and here we see he's doing a God-like thing. He leads his people to green pastures, the chance to rest in this literal green space, just what it is. Jesus is the compassionate shepherd. The only thing is that it didn't turn out to be quite the rest that the disciples had been imagining, because while they're on their lovely, restful boat trip across the lake to this secluded picnic spot, the word starts going around that Jesus of Nazareth and his followers, these ones that have been doing all that stuff, the amazing miracle workers, they're heading over to the other side of the lake. And so the crowds that have been so electrified by everything that has been going on, they start walking and running on foot around the lake to meet them. So that when the boat I guess must be going at quite a chill kind of pace, they're just having a rest, aren't they? By the time the boat gets to the other side, near the picnic spot, the disciples find it's not quite such a quiet and lonely space today. A few hundred people by that time, I'm sure, at least have got there ahead of them. Now, how might you or I react in that situation? You know the feeling, don't you? You have just sat down with a cup of tea, and then the doorbell goes, or the phone rings, or a voice comes from upstairs. Dad, come. How do you react? Mark mentioned in the press that we live in Pakistan a lot of the time, and my phone rings a lot when I'm in Pakistan. It's often people requesting all kinds of different help, and I actually change my ringtone every few months, because no matter how much I like the ringtone when I choose it, within a few months I just associate it with a sense of dread. Like, oh, who is it now? What do they want? Just want some rest. You pray for me, because I am clearly not as compassionate as Jesus is. But look how Jesus Christ responds in this situation to the endless demands of the crowd. Have a look there, verse 34, if you've got your sheet or the Bible open. Verse 34. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. Now remember, these crowds have been flocking after Jesus for some time. Jesus is about a year into his public ministry now, and we see as we read on in the gospel that many of those people that are flocking after Jesus are fickle. You know, they're just there because they want to see something kind of cool and special. They don't go on to become followers of Jesus. Loads of them just abandon him when they start kind of hearing what he's teaching and when his teaching challenges their lives. And Jesus now, he knows all this. He's not stupid. But still he has compassion on them, because he sees they're like sheep without a shepherd. He has compassion on them. Not just them, but us too. You see, the Bible uses this image of sheep and says that we're all like sheep. And being likened to a sheep is not the most flattering image. We think of cute, fluffy little lambs and all that kind of stuff, but sheep aren't the brightest of animals, are they? They seem to have a special talent for getting lost. And the scholar Leland Ryken says that even when a sheep can see the shepherd, they frequently cannot find their way back to the shepherd. Right? They're not the brightest of animals. And I imagine that they probably think they know what they're doing, but to any objective, independent observer, you can see that without a shepherd, they're finished. Jesus looks at this crowd, chasing them in the lake, looking for the next spectacular miracle. And he cares about them. He has compassion on them. He cares that they are spiritually lost. And how does he express that care? He goes to them, he gathers them round, and he teaches them. It's not the secluded downtime that the disciples imagined, but it's a good day there on the green grass, listening to Jesus teaching many things. Presumably more and more people come until there are, by the end, literally thousands there, listening to Jesus, being ministered to Jesus, because he cares. Jesus is the compassionate shepherd, and that's good news for us. Jesus' compassion is the reason that we're here this morning. It's the reason that we have this book to read this morning. He made sure that all this was written for our benefit because he cares. We need to hear what's in Mark's Gospel today. Each one of us. Because without him, we are no better off than lost sheep. We don't like to think of ourselves as sheep-like, do we? But in many ways we are. Some of us perhaps are coming feeling, perhaps reeling when something has happened and you do just feel lost. But many of us don't feel like that in life. But actually, if we take a long hard look at ourselves, we so often just kind of follow whoever or whatever is in fashion in our kind of circle of friends, don't we? You know, even on the level of the clothes that we wear. You look at pictures of yourself or of your parents back in the 70s, back in the 90s, and you laugh. Some of you are already laughing thinking about it. It seemed good to dress like that then, didn't it? Because everyone was doing it. And who knows what people will think looking back at the clothes that we wear now. But we tend to do things that the rest of society does around us, don't we? We tend to believe the things as well that the rest of society around us encourages us to believe. We're really quite sheep-like, even though we don't like to admit it. Now, we can hear that and get offended. But God doesn't tell us that to mock us or to exploit us. And look again at verse 34, how Jesus responds. He sees this great crowd of sheep-like people. He has compassion on them, and then at the very end of this verse, he began to teach them many things. Jesus doesn't mock us. Jesus doesn't exploit us. He sees what we're like, and he enlightens us. He sees these people like sheep without a shepherd, and he starts to make sense of life for them. Isn't that the experience of so many of us here? We begin to listen to Jesus, and he truly makes sense of things. He shows us what life is all about. He shows us what we're truly like. He gives us answers that that satisfy our souls. This is the shepherd that we need. And Mark wants us to see he cares. He cares about you. He cares about us. Jesus Christ, the compassionate shepherd. But he doesn't just care. There are lots of people in this world, aren't there, who really care about people. But at the end of the day, they're powerless to do anything about the big issues that we face. We care, don't we? We care dearly about loved ones who are sick, who are struggling, who are suffering, and we long to help them. So often we're powerless to do that. But Jesus is different. Jesus isn't powerless. Jesus is the compassionate shepherd, but he's also the powerful shepherd. Let's just read again this incredible thing that happened in verse 35. When it grew late, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place, the hour's now late. Send them away to go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. It's the end of the day. They're in the middle of nowhere. It's a really beautiful place. But it's no Piccadilly Gardens, there's no eateries, there's nothing to deal with this problem of thousands of people, and they're hungry because they're in the middle of nowhere. Mark tells us that there are 5,000 men. Matthew, in his eyewitness account, notes that that number is just the men. That's besides the women and children that are there as well. So we're talking a good 10, 15, 20,000 people, maybe more. There in total. Big families were common in that culture, probably lots of kids, loads of people, loads of hungry people. And Jesus says to the disciples, in the face of all these people, you get me something to eat. You sort it. You can imagine their faces. Admittedly, this is right on the back of these few days where the disciples have been doing the same things that Jesus had been doing. Healings and all that kind of stuff that they would never have done if Jesus hadn't given them the power and the authority to do it. But this is totally different league. This is totally impossible for the disciples. And they kind of think, well, what should we do? And, they ask around, Jesus' suggestion, and they've got 2 little fish and 5 little rolls. When we read loaves, we think of, Kingsmill, with big kind of slice of loaves, and we think, what was that mother thinking, sending a little boy out with 5 of them for his package? But according to scholars of these things, these are like 5 kind of scone-sized rolls, barley rolls, barm cakes, 2 fish and 5 little loaves. 2 fish and 5 little loaves. Now, it's fair enough to feel compassion for these hungry people. We don't know to what extent the disciples were feeling compassion for them. But 2 fish and 5 little loaves, what is that going to do? Well, for Jesus, it is more than enough. Because Jesus is more. Jesus is the powerful shepherd. And I know we're familiar with this story probably, but what happens next is nothing short of stunning. Have you ever seen anything like this happen? I mean, the first thing that's pretty impressive is Jesus' crowd control capabilities. Many of us have been to those kind of festivals, and they have like similar kind of number of people and all these cordons and people in fluorescent jackets telling you where to go, and that's quite a challenging thing. But Jesus, he just says, he'll sit the crowd down in groups of 50 and 100 and stuff. Obviously, it's Jesus. He can command evil spirits and they obey him. He can command a dead person to come to life, ordering thousands of people into groups, orderly groups of food distributors. But then, what happens next? That's the big purpose. Imagine that you're there, and imagine that you haven't heard this story before. Jesus takes the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and he looks up to heaven and he gives thanks. And he breaks them, each fish and each loaf into a few pieces. And he gives them to his disciples, indicating they should start feeding them. And Mark doesn't elaborate on quite what it looked like and how it felt and what the disciples were seeing in their hands as they started to give it out. That's not his style. Mark likes to get straight to the point, which is this. the food was distributed among these 10,000, 20,000 people. And everyone ate. And everyone was satisfied. Now just think about that for a minute. If 2 fish and 5 loaves are enough to feed one boy, one of the gospel writers tells us this was the packed lunch of one boy. 2 fish and 5 loaves for one boy. How much are you going to need to feed a crowd that was there? 50,000 fish. 100,000 of these loaves, at least. Who can do that? Who can cause food to be created where before there was nothing? I mean, that's what was happening, wasn't it? Amounts of fish and bread that previously hadn't existed went into mouths, were enjoyed by taste buds, went down into esophaguses and satisfied hungry stomachs. How else do you explain 5 fish rolls feeding 5,000 plus hungry people? That is an act of creation going on. That is something only God can do. Jesus supplied abundantly for this people. That's another piece of evidence that wakes us up and says we need to take Jesus seriously. And this is the kind of thing that God does. Remember Psalm 23 again? The Lord is my shepherd. What does it say there? You prepare, God, a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. The Lord is my shepherd. He provides abundantly for me. But here comes Jesus. And he is that shepherd. Jesus is a powerful shepherd. Not only compassion, but also provision. He doesn't just feel sorry for us. He really can serve us and provide for us in the very ways that we need. That's what he did with the crowd. He taught them. He fed them spiritually. And then he showed them his glory in this as well, that he provided in this truly miraculous way for their physical needs too. Now the claims here are outlandish, almost unbelievable, but that is why they wrote it down. That is why we're talking about it again today, because it was so astonishing that it happened in this normally secluded, backwater, middle of nowhere area outside Bethsaida, on the shore of the Lake of Galilee, with thousands of witnesses. They heard Jesus teaching, they saw Jesus' love, they tasted Jesus' power, and they even saw his extra touch of kindness with his disciples. Remember those 12 disciples who were coming away for a rest and ended up being part of a rather large catering operation, and remember that they'd not had time to eat? Well, after everyone else was fed, what was left over? 12 baskets for 12 disciples. Apparently the word means hand baskets, about the size of a standard plastic bag. 1 doggy bag for each of the apostles who hadn't had time to eat, to take with them on their next boat trip that Jesus was just about to send off. How precise is that? Jesus made just the right amount of food for each person to be satisfied and for each of the apostles to get takeaway box. There's precision in Jesus' provision. He gives us just what we need, and that's true today as well. Amazing compassion, abundant provision. The Jesus Christ that we see here in Mark's Gospel is still alive today. When we see Jesus break the loaves, it's like a little momentary flash forward to something that we're going to see later in Mark's Gospel as we come to the climax of the book. Jesus will break bread again on the night before he dies. And then the next day, with all the power of God at his disposal, remember what we've just seen him doing? Remember how powerful he is? All the power of God at his disposal. In compassion, will allow himself to be broken on the cross in order to provide for us. Not just to provide one tasty meal for tens of thousands, but to provide eternal life full and forever happiness in the presence of God in a world made right for uncountable millions in every nation. Jesus, the compassionate shepherd and the powerful shepherd, even today, he provides for his sheep. He gives us our daily bread. That's not just actual food, is it? But life and breath and wisdom for the challenges that we face. He gives us what we need day by day. And he meets our deep eternal need for forgiveness and life. That's Jesus Christ. And his offer for us to receive and enjoy that gift of life is open for us today. If you're in that crowd, the crowd of 5,000 men plus women and children, how do you receive the gift of food? First of all, you admit you have nothing to feed yourself. That's a uncomfortable and humbling thing, probably embarrassing in that culture to admit, but it's the truth. Nothing to feed yourself. You open your hand, you take the food, and you enjoy it. We're like sheep without a shepherd. I cannot guide myself. I've strayed from where I should be spiritually. I see evidence of that in my life. I care more about what I think so often than what God thinks. I care more about what I want than what others need. I hurt those closest to me like a sheep. I'm powerless to protect myself. Ultimately, especially against death that is coming to me, the separation from God and all that is good that death would entail. I cannot protect myself where it matters. And neither can you. But Jesus can. Jesus can. If we admit that we cannot do those things ourselves, that we're empty and broken and sinful, if we open our hearts to him, just as the crowd opened their hands to receive, if we receive the life he's willing to give us, then we're free to enjoy life with him and protected for eternity. The compassion and powerful provision of Jesus Christ is available for us today. It's available to you whether you consider yourself religious or not. Jesus came for sheep who are without a shepherd. If you haven't done this before, let me urge you this morning to open your heart to him. Admit your need for him and begin a lifelong journey of being his disciple, his follower, and experiencing his day by day his compassion and his power at work in your life. Let's pray, shall we? Lord Jesus Christ, there is no one like you. We praise you for your perfect compassion and your perfect power. Thank you, Lord, that you have compassion on us. Thank you, Lord, that you provide for each one of your sheep. Some of us are here this morning with great challenge and difficulty going on in our lives. And we look to you again this morning for compassion and for the provision that we need to keep going. And Lord, for those here who are seeing in a new and fresh way this morning that you really are who you claim to be in the scriptures, give us grace to humbly admit that we need you, and to open our hearts and to receive the life